I got my guy with me, my main man. I feel like this guy just kind of like exploded onto the scene. You know what I'm saying? Like for the last like 2 years or so, and just kind of like came in and made an impact. Super genuine dude. I was telling, we was texting earlier, and I was like, you know, this is just like those Be Social conversations coming full circle, because he used to come post up at Be Social when I was working in there, and we just talk about everything, talk about streetwear, talk about music, talk about the scene, just talk about everything, right? So I'm excited to finally have like a conversation with him and for it to be documented and recorded. Sure. It's my man Shane Farrow from Westcott Studio.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that was my kind of like brief little week intro. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and give a little bit more detail, and then we'll hop into the conversation, man.
Cool.
So tell the people who you are.
So my name is Shane Farrow. I am from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Moved out here maybe 6-7 years ago now. Just wanted to get in my roots of streetwear, man. I wanted to step out here into the city and try to make a contribution to the culture. So yeah, I mean, I've been self-taught and everything. So everything I've learned from photography to graphic design is just all, even the business mind, just all been self-taught. So it's part of the journey. But yeah, man. So 32 years old, just here to try to create.
Man, you ain't trying to create. You are creating, man, for real, for real. So you said you're from the Outer Banks, but get more specific. Yeah. Where are you from?
So I'm from Mania, North Carolina, for the ones that, Roanoke Island, if you are familiar with the area, where there's not really too much to grow off of. So coming to the city was just like a no-brainer, because this is where everybody's at. I mean, there's not too many people that look like us or actually contribute to the scene as like I wanted to contribute. So I had to go where, the competition's at, where the people at, to try to grow.
But I think, and this is one of the things that I think really attracted me to the brand and the way that you operate with it, was just, you're still, even though you felt like you had to leave that environment to grow, a lot of what you do with the brand is still influenced from that. Am I correct? So like, even down to the name and like all of those things. So give a little, first, actually, let me back up before we even get into the brand. Give us a little bit of a picture of what that looked like growing up there. Like, what was your environment like? Like, what were the things? How did you land on this culture? You know what I'm saying? That you wanted to eventually end up contributing to. Like, what's some of the influence?
The quickest way I got into the culture was footwear. So shoes. I mean, I remember my first pair of mid-top white Air Force Ones like it was yesterday. Like that right there just changed my life.
Where'd you get them from?
A place called Sound Feet Shoes. It was a mom and pop store. I ended up getting a job there. I became a buyer there. I worked my way up. So this was when Jordan, I mean, you're talking about True Blue 3s are sitting. Yeah. Like, the prime.
So like
era.
2011.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 2010, 2011.
Yep. Stuff is sitting where people wasn't really on it. So I just dove into that. And then I found my way to the DMV area. Like, that's where I get a lot of my inspiration for really finding, I guess, the higher end streetwear. I wouldn't say high fashion, but I'm talking, like going to the cream store and like finding out about Wale and then that whole movement. It just really kind of shaped the streetwear scene that was for me. Mm-hmm. So then I brought it back home and just try to create as much as I can. Started off just sketching, drawing hats and drawing sneakers, and just starting to go from there.
Got you. So did you start a brand while you were still back home before you moved out this way, or how would you describe that process?
I would say I didn't start a brand when I was back home. I actually started a brand because I had a couple of younger homies that wanted to start a brand, so I just wanted to show them that they could do it. So I actually started as trying to be like almost like a guinea pig, or like someone to just show the youth, because no one showed me that I could do it. So it was big for me to be like, listen, like, y'all can do this. Don't worry about it. If we fail, we'll fail. If not, we'll just do it. Just go for it, because y'all are young. Because back when I was 21, I thought I was old. So you know what I'm saying. So I was just like, well, I'll test it out for y'all, and then we'll go from there. So that really is how I started. I had a couple different brand names, ENCA and different things, and then it just kind of spiraled off into creating solely for myself, and that's how I found like my pattern now, like Westcott.
Got you. So what's the tie between the brand that you have now? We'll go there now. The tie between your brand and your hometown.
So I grew up in my first home was just off in like the sticks, basically. So I was all by myself, single child at the time, and then my sister came along. We moved to Westcott Park, and that is a park that I met all my friends. Like, we played like basketball. It's really where I got my sense of just friendship and just a brotherhood. You know your day ones. When people say day ones, that's where it started at. So, and being home, every time I came back home from living in Wilmington or coming back to Charlotte, and people see you, that energy you get when you go back home is undeniable. When you know you're out here trying to survive, they're rooting for you. You know what I mean? So that's where that came from.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. And then like I think another thing or another part that I admire is like you went like super DIY with it. Like you didn't like it wasn't like, oh, let me go find a screen printer, let me go this. And you may have went down the path, but what led you to being like so tactile and like making everything yourself and like really getting hands on, getting your hands in the ink and all that kind of stuff?
The thing about it is I didn't know what even words to say. Like I didn't even know how to ask for a certain screen print or a DTG or any type of garment. I didn't know where to go. So I don't even know how to ask for it. So I'm gonna just make it. That's just how it was. So then when COVID hit, it really ramped that up because everything's shutting down, and I really create off of a necessity of just like fighting like depression and anxiety. Like I have to, like it just gets crazy. So that's when I really started stepping up my screen printing and just dyeing things. So once you create with your hands, it takes it to a whole nother level. So then when I give it to you, that's the gift. You know what I mean? That's why it's really something.
It's got a good kind of like touch to it.
Yeah, for sure.
What so how would you say, I know different brands have different release strategies and things have changed a lot for kind of like fashion brands and apparel brands. Even like for me, so like I don't even consider Analog Luxury to really be a clothing brand. It's more like merch that supports the art. So I don't have like a traditional like release schedule or anything. It's just kind of like, oh, I got an idea, I got a concept, or I got an event coming up. I'm gonna do something specific or special to that. Like, what's your thought process behind how you release things or how you put together capsules? Like, what's give the people some insight on how you structure your drops?
Well, in the beginning, just because I couldn't hold back, and my team will definitely attest to that. Anytime I got a product, I took a picture, posted it, and it's out. It's ready. Because you're so excited to see your product for the first time. And
so you was no lookbooks. It ain't no calendar. We ain't just like
none of that. And they got on me for it because there was no way we could really prep the people to have it. It would sell out, or we just it would just be really quick. So I couldn't really get my name out to really market it enough. But now I really take my time to just put together a complete look or a complete thought process, almost, I would say. Like the upcoming pop-up that we're trying to create now is going to be something that's more submersive, something that you can feel past the product. So really, it's not a schedule. It's more like when the idea is complete. Once the idea is complete, then we can say, all right, next project, like now we can put it out and do so. Where before, instead of putting out the whole book, I would just put out the chapter. Now I'm putting out the whole book.
Got you. So where would you say is like from a practical sense of like the designs and stuff that you're actually coming up with? Like where's that design ethos like birthed out of? Like,
I mean, 100% skate shops. I mean, skate shops, Stussy. I mean, any hundreds, Crooks and Castles, like the list, 10 Deep. Just that era of streetwear is really where I feel like fashion now, even high-end fashion, if you look at it, I brag about this all the time like it's mine, but like Dior's best drop was streetwear.
Yeah.
It's basically streetwear. So like Jordans and Stussy, the Stussy Dior collab, out of here. So I feel like when streetwear is really at its core and really talking to people and you're putting emotion into your product, that's where like it comes from. So that's really where I try to strive.
Got you. But in terms of your design sensibility, like what, or maybe it's somebody on the team that you work with and collaborate with, like where do those, like, you do a lot of things I think feel like it's very earthy, very like, again, world conscious, global, like
for sure.
What is you got like the recycling type joint, like where does that kind of thought process come from, or what is that rooted in?
Well, I mean, it really tries to just pull out the best emotions in myself, because like I said, I work out of basically fighting anxiety and depression. So I really try to make stuff that when I put it on, I feel good, number one. So when I read it and I look in the mirror, or someone sees this shirt and I get stopped at a grocery store, it's like, man, I really like what that says. It's like an old person or like a little kid really is attracted to it because of like the message that's on it. So I really just try to make stuff that speak to that emotion, and that's where it really comes from. I'm a big hip hop fan, so like a lot of lyric driven. I mean, I listen to music 24/7, so it's just like I really try to drive from there. So it's not really necessarily like an art type. It's more like an emotion, a mood that I try to draw from.
Got you. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times when I'm kind of processing, you mentioned music, like a lot of times when I'm processing, I'm thinking about something, even if I don't have like the idea just yet, I try and find music that like aligns with where I'm trying to go.
Correct.
And then I just kind of like let that play in the background. Like right now I'm listening to like mad jazz. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's just like, I don't know what that's going to produce, but I know it's like a part of the feeling that I'm trying to drive for. So I feel that for sure. Who's some of your, speaking of music, like who are some of the artists that you listening to right now, or what are you listening to right now? And
Right now, I'm definitely big on like the Griselda wave. I definitely like everybody that just like that boom bop.
Yep.
I mean, I definitely listen to a lot of like Dom Kennedy.
My boy.
I listen to a lot of Currency. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Nipsey. I mean, and then like if it's good rap, I'm listening to it. To be honest with you, Nas album was amazing, but I'm big into Griselda and like I guess you would say like the drug rap, just because growing up they would always say like this music is really bad and like kids shouldn't listen to it and different things like that. But when I heard it as a kid, I never heard it really talking about the drugs because I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
I just knew about the hustle, the grind,
Yeah.
the go get it, just going after it. So that's why I always gravitate to just that old like early Jay-Z just talking crazy. So that's really what I listen to a lot.
Got you. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it is too because we listen to a lot of that stuff so young. It's like now that you're older, like when you go back and listen to it, you like, oh,
Yeah, I was like, I probably
that's
should've
what
been
he was
listening to
talking
that.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
crazy.
word. Nah, man, that's tight. So, I'm a Charlotte native, and we got to talk about the city. We're here. It's Mad City fucking room. You know what I mean? So, what was your experience like coming from the Outer Banks, coming into the city? Well, you went to DC first and then landed here.
Yeah. I'm back
So, like, just kind of talk through that process in terms of like how you got your feet wet, how you started to get to know people. Like, what was that process like for you? Even going and start with your DC experience. Don't jump straight to Charlotte, but like when you touch down in a city, what's the first thing you do to really kind of figure out to get your feet in the soil and figure out like what's going on with the culture?
So it was different when I was in the DMV area because I had a family and a good friend that grew up in the Baltimore area who like really knew where everything was at. Like Charlotte was just brand new, didn't know where it's at. So the first place that I went to when I was out there would be going to like Iverson Mall, places like that, and you were just bump into like minds.
Yep.
Here it was social status. I would go to social status. I would go to Black Sheep. I would go and just see where my like minds are. Like I don't know. I just follow see these people around. See people with sneakers and stuff, and just like go to shows, meet people at shows.
Yep.
The music scene was crazy. So like that was my main entry point into trying to figure out where everybody's at. But I would definitely say like that's probably been the hardest thing about Charlotte, and I definitely don't want to throw any like disrespect towards Charlotte, but I feel like there's so many great talented artists in the city that don't mess with each other or don't like connect enough that we could like go crazy. Like that's the thing about it. Like my biggest thing when I first started was like I need to be in New York, I need to be in LA because that's where everybody's at. I gotta get there. Now it's like nah, I mean, obviously Instagram and the world has done changed like with technology, but I'm talking about like we got some of the nicest cats like doing it, like cut and sew, design wise, business wise, event wise, like it's just different for me when I got it because I was kind of taken back because when you're in a small town, everybody gotta rock with like you gotta help each other, like you buying food from them, that's putting money on their plate because everything's small business out here. So it was just kind of different because people be like, nah, don't mess with him. I'm like, oh, he's really cool, but like what I mean, like so it was just a little bit different. Had to get used to it.
Yeah, man. I think that's one of the things too. Is I think that's one of a lot of people who move here. That's kind of one of their critiques is that the city can be kind of cliquish sometimes. And I think that's any kind of emerging market. And anytime you got like kind of like people who have been here for a while, you might have some of those things from when folks were younger and stuff like that. But I feel like someone who's been here for a while, I feel like we're conquering a lot of those things. Like as a lot of people are like aging, growing up, you know what I'm saying? Like it's starting to be a different energy. And I think, we're starting to get a lot more like business infrastructure and things like that. Cause even reflecting back to when I came back from school, Winston, like 2014, like that's when it's like the scene, it felt so big, but it was still very, very small. Like you start to go to, and I feel like the city is still kind of like that. After you spend about a year, I feel like a year and a half, you probably done bumped into and rubbed elbows with pretty much everybody from a streetwear and sneakers perspective that you really, it's a couple other pockets in there and people doing different things, but for the most part, you're going to start seeing the same faces and names. And I feel like that community and folks coming in with that mentality, like you saying, like, yo, let's find a way to collaborate, let's find a way to make it happen.
I feel like Be Social help with that. People like you help with that. Meeting people, Skinny J is one of the people that just out there.
Skinny know everybody,
Yeah,
but I
that's
swear
what
I be
I'm
on
saying.
Skinny IG, be like, hey, you know him
Yeah,
too?
Skinny,
Good.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but like meeting him, and then he's connecting with me with people that I know, but they don't even know each other that they know through him. I'm just like, bro, don't you know Buddy over here? He's the best. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yeah, this person's mad nice. They're like, no, I ain't never even heard him. Like, what? This is like the craziest. So it's just like, if everybody understood how nice we were, we wouldn't have to go. Like, if we did go there, we would go together. You know what I mean? Number one. But if they knew that, we wouldn't have to go there. Like, with social media the way it is now, like, we're nice. You know what I'm saying? So that was just my like view on it. Though.
Got you.
So.
If you had any dream collabs, like who would you work with? Speaking of like just collaboration and linking up, like what are some things that are inspiring you that you would like to like tie into the brand?
I mean, of course, Pharrell would be probably my number one, like, you know, overall, just him and Nigo. If Nigo just put a finger on a shirt, I would be like, yeah, that's the collab, baby. We did it. You know, we here now. So,
hey, look, that might be an idea right there.
Yeah,
Get somebody just get their little fingerprint. You know what I'm saying? Dip it in ink.
Exactly. So we could, if I could make those two happen, that'll be probably like, you know, the icing on the cake. But I mean, I feel like I'm working on some of them right now. I got a cat named Roulette I'm working with. He's not.
Shout out to Gordon. Shout out to Roulette.
Yo, that man is out of control. Guantanamo Bay. That man's out of control. Like, we working on some stuff right now. So I would say my dreams is right now. Like, we doing it right now.
They doing it with the people around you. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So where you think you see things going next for you, bro? Like, what's in pocket for Westcott? You got any other things you working on? Like, where's your mentality at? What you shooting at?
So right now I'm really working on. So rest in peace in Virgil, but like he really showed us how to go as big as you can possibly do it and still maintain. You know what I mean? Still have your finger on it. So I'm really trying to figure out how to do more than just product, as in to give you a type of feeling that maybe haven't been felt in the city, as in almost like an art or immersion, you know what I mean, when you go see your product. So that's really what I'm working on. We got a pop-up coming up January 8th. It's going to be at Space 212 in University. So it's going to be hopefully a really good showing of where my mindset is at right now and where it can go. So I'm really big on showing that it's about the art. Like, it starts with the art and what you're making. So it doesn't have to always be the most glamorous, but if you put some thought behind it and you really show your emotions, like, that's what I'm trying to work towards. And really just growing every day. Like, since it's DIY, man, like, we just doing it however. Like, I'm really just flowing. Like, whatever comes to the table, like, I'm trying to do it. So. Nah,
I feel that. So you got an event coming up and like a pop-up coming up. How do you think about the way you curate spaces or put together like those types of things when you think about putting together an event or a pop-up or a show or something like that? Like, what's your thought process with that?
So the first thing is obviously the product. Once you get the product lined up and you got the emotion from the product, now how can you enhance that? So everything that you make with your product, if it's just a hat or a bag or a shirt, like, you need to show them that there's a depth to it. There's a story behind it. So how can you bring that out in the physical form? So either by music, either by smell, by taste, any of the senses. We already see it, so how can you feel it? You know what I mean? So I make sure that the music's curated to the point where it's not only the beat, it's the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? I make sure that the sound is nice and crisp, and when you view it, you see everything. So, like, I really just try to be as creative as I am on the product, outside the product, if that makes sense.
Nah, for sure. I'm not gonna hog the mic, man. If y'all got any questions for Shane while we up here, just toss your hand in the air. You know what I mean? We'll get you to ask your question. We'll get him to answer it live. Get your voice on the pod. All the things, man. So, for sure. But I guess, like, if you had another medium that you would work in outside of kind of the screen print or the design, are you interested in any other mediums at this point in time?
To be honest with you, not really, just because I like to create through clothing, and I really just want to hone in on that. I mean, I do, the people that do everything, like yourself, I mean, to Kobe, this man here, he does, so there's so many people that can just do everything. I really just want to try my best to bring the best product that I can. I'm trying to be the best center I can be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to bring the ball up. I'm not trying to, like, let me try to be the best at that. And that's what got me here, though. Since I'm self-taught, I feel like if I stretch myself too thin sometimes, it really waters down everything. So I'm really just trying to be potent at what I'm doing. So I haven't really thought too much outside of that part. So it's really just the focus.
Nah, I feel that. There's I kind of talked about this yesterday at the open court announcement, and I was talking about knowing when and how to leverage yourself in specific spaces. So even though I appreciate the compliment, you know, even though it seems like, oh man, he does everything, it's like when you boil it down and we talk about providing value in like the context of specific relationships, you really only knocking out one or two things for real that you're doing for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's just about being able to hone in, and I think I'm interested to see. I want to talk to you in like 18 months. Or like, 24 months after you've been really, continuing to kick it in this and see what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like that with creators, man. You start to get into one thing and you get, you get a process around it and you start to, because what happens, you end up getting more efficient.
Yeah. Nah.
And once you get more efficient, you're like, oh, I can start to dabble in a few more things. So I'm gonna touch base with you in a little bit and see if you're still feeling the same way.
This art show that I'm trying to put together is definitely me stretching my abilities so far. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm glad to hear that, bro. That's important. It's important.
Sure.
Gotta have those heat checks, man. But yeah, any questions, man? For real, I want to open it up. I ain't trying to be the only one up here chatting. Any questions at all? What you got?
Yeah, so my name is Brandon. One thing I have a question on is, where do you see the future of apparel when we're talking about digital, talk about NFTs? And I'm trying to think about that in context of apparel and art.
So I feel like NFTs is basically our gateway as any type of graphic designer to actually get paid what we're finally worth if we can make it happen. Just because if you're a graphic designer or you make stuff like this, you kind of understand that we don't really get the best cuts out all the time. So I feel like NFTs and going into that space, like I'm working on trying to have my clothing brand drop just the same time as on like the metaverse and stuff, because Bobby Hundreds just did that. I feel like that is a move that will definitely help us in general, just as creators, get our stuff out there and get funds, man. Like, doing this stuff is not free, but we do it with so much passion and love that sometimes the finances, we push it aside because of our heart. So I feel like that space is so key for funding alone to create in person. I feel like creating in person is always going to be there. The feel of art, touching art, just the smell of it, going to see it, enjoying it with your friends, that's always going to be there, no matter what they do. So it's just gonna cost more. Once everything goes online, and then ones that still in them streets and they want to feel it and touch it again, we'll be here, and it's gonna cost them too. So, yeah. So I think that's probably gonna be the wave of how things are going now. But if you're on that space, get on there and learn it. I'm still learning myself, but it's definitely where I want to go for sure.
No doubt. Anybody got another question for my man Shane? Come on, man. We got too many creators in the room. Let's go.
What's up, Shane? My name is Khalil.
What's up, man?
You mentioned Nipsey being a big inspiration. Really big inspiration to me, like one of my favorite artists of all time. And when he had the Marathon clothing store, Isaac Sandu was his like chief technology officer or whatnot. And so they did a really cool collab where he would like put technology in the clothing. So can you speak about if you do know about like that collaboration? And now Isaac is working with Jay-Z on some like metaverse stuff. So can you speak to the I guess collaborative spirit between technology and clothing and where you see that going in the future?
I mean, if you even think about it, they did in the NBA also, because they brought that same type of technology when they started scanning the back of the jerseys, and you can bring up player info almost like cards and things. I felt like technology is something that now is so part of us that it's almost like the tech wear of like Japanese use it a lot. I'm kind of big into the Japanese style of fashion. They use utility. Utility now is actually kind of popular, mainly in New York, but technology is bringing it to a merger where now it makes it very easy. It's almost like a cell phone case to where you want to match it and bring it, like how our masks are going to have to start being if they start manning it for the rest of our life. It's just something that they're going to add. It's going to merge, but you got to make it comfortable. See, the thing about what Nipsey was doing and that project is it made it, not only was it cool, but it was comfortable too. It wasn't bulky. It wasn't nothing wild. So I feel like if you can make the technology comfortable, that's going to be your biggest key if you're trying to do something at our level or my level that's kind of low. You know what I mean? It has to be comfortable and not bulky. So I feel like that's probably the biggest thing when it comes to the merging of technology right now. So.
Yeah, I also add just between that, in that specific collaboration, the fact that Nip and them were leveraging AR. So it was the fact that you could buy a T-shirt from Marathon, scan a tag on a T-shirt, and you might get access to like exclusive track that was unreleased or unreleased video or some photos or something like that. And that's the same mentality and mindset. It really shows how ahead Nipsey was in that, because that's the exact same kind of like mindset mentality that's being applied to a lot of the wearables and blockchain technology right now. It's this garment or this thing that you're purchasing is giving you access to additional things. And he could always update that code. So as long as you own that T-shirt and you can scan that code, you can have access to that content. And that's kind of the same thought process behind some of the tokenomics that you see within NFTs. The only difference is, as opposed to a physical T-shirt, it's a digital asset. So there's still a lot of these parallels, and a lot of the models aren't necessarily different, but the language is different. And I feel like a lot of times we get caught up in the language difference, and it feels like something different when it's really, this is the exact same thing we've been doing. It just is kind of in a different context. So it's going to be really, really dope. Like you mentioned, Bobby Hundreds and what they're doing with Atom Bomb Squad and everybody that has those NFTs, and they got merged from their Atom Bomb collection that's about to drop. And if you are a holder of the Atom Bomb NFT, you get access to exclusive merch. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna continue to see a lot of stuff like that. And and then also when you talk about the inclusion of things like Google Glass or like whatever the next eyewear technology is, and you talk about these digital wearables, now you're talking about getting up in the morning, and not only do you put on a physical fit, but you put on like a digital fit, because like you don't know who you're gonna run into that got the Google Glass. So you know what I mean? You might not be able to get your hands on the Off-White AF1, but you might be able to get the NFT, and you might be able to put on your avatar in the morning. So you may have on like, you know what I mean, some Forces or some Vans or something like that. But when you got the metaverse fit on, it's like I got the AJ1, I got the
good.
exactly.
2K, you ain't fly, but your 2K player fly.
High key. So that's that.
I rock with you.
It's about to get real crazy, man. Like everybody be on 2K on the park, and you got the VC and all that. Like that's about to be like you in real life.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna get up in the morning and you're gonna put your fit on, but you can also sync up with the app and be like, I feel like wearing this on here today. So I think that's gonna be, you know what I mean? I think we got a long way to go. It's gonna be dope though to see how that starts to work, and I would encourage anybody, to start looking into it. Don't feel like you're missing out on something. It's still very, very early for the Web3, but we're gonna get to that point, man, for sure. So, but yeah, man, that's it for the first interview, bro. I appreciate you, man. It's a pleasure to finally get a chance
It's an honor, man.
to chop it up formally, man. That's the first one, Shane Farrow, man, Westcott.